Okay, I think we can get started, everyone. Welcome all. This is our TL1 Scholarship, Advancing Excellence in Clinical Translational Research and Leadership. This presentation is brought to you by our ICTR Enrichment Seminar series. Our guest speaker is Dr. Luana Colloca. Dr. Colloca is our director of our CTSA TL1 Scholars Program, and that includes our pre- and postdoctoral training. I just want to let everyone know that this is a webinar, so you are muted, your cameras are off, but if you would like to pose a question, please do so using our chat feature or the Q&A feature at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Also, at the end of our presentation, we hope that you would take a moment and complete our survey, our satisfaction survey. Give us some thoughts about the presentation and what you would like for us to bring to you in the future. Also, when you close out of the Zoom, you will be directed to that survey. So take a moment, look at your browser, and if you have time, please complete the survey then. Thanks so much, everyone. And Dr. Colloca, thank you for your presentation.
Wanda, thank you very much, and thank you all for coming to this seminar today. So the goal is to try to understand what is the TL1 scholarship, the philosophy, and a little bit about our UMB TL1 program. So to start, I would say that today we will try to cover this basic element of TL1 programs that provide pre-scholar and post-scholar scholars with 1 to 2 years of support to learn about translational principles, complete a focused didactic training on clinical research, and conduct mentored research. And all these elements are so important. So translational principles, focused didactic training that we will learn more like a master, a certificate, and your mentor are part of this program. So, and the last part, I will give an overview of the last 3 years of the UMB TL1 program and our collaboration with Johns Hopkins University. So, for those of you who are not familiar, what that means, CTSA Research Training TL1 program. So we work with the NCAS Institute from the National Institute of Health. And that is a part that I literally took from their website. So the National Research Service Award supports the training of predoctoral and medical students and postdoctoral fellows seeking a practical introduction to clinical and translational research. We realize that there is a gap in science when it comes to clinical and translational research. How many scientists are trained to conduct clinical research, clinical neuroscience, and many other applications. So the goal of this TL1 program is to increase the number of well-trained clinician scientists who can lead the design and oversight the future of clinical investigation that are so critical to advance medicine and application to improve health of Americans and non-Americans. So that is the overall mission of NCAS and NIH. So TL1 awards support students seeking this practical introduction to clinical and translational research. And indeed, the CTSA program hub selects TL1 candidates, providing full-time research training, support for predoctoral candidates, and combined health professional doctoral master candidates, as well as postdoctoral fellows seeking additional training in clinical research. So the TL1 goal is to increase the number of well-trained clinician scientists. And this is very important when we talk about translational research. How many of current findings in animal and basic science translate to human health? So the force is to increase the amount of translational research that can help benefit in terms of deliverable when it comes to medicine. So our TSA was funded recently, May 31st, 2019. This is the project's period. So we start in 2019. We will continue until 2024 and that time. And this includes a UL1 with Johns Hopkins Institute for Clinical and Translational Research, a KL2 program that is for junior faculty, an institutional career development core is in charge of that. And then we have the TL1 a training core that is what we will explore today together in terms of eligibility, deliverables, and us, that's UMB. So mostly this UMB TL1 program is led by myself and Dr. Khalil, but we are only two of the many people that contribute to make this a success. In fact, behind us, there are many other people that daily work with us to help to promote this mission of advancing clinical research and translational applications. The purpose of this award is to support, once again, training of biomedical, behavioral, clinical researchers and two individuals that do predoctoral research. So as you can see from the title, now we are going to explore which are the requirements here at UMB to be eligible for this kind of award. So the TL1, as I mentioned, is a component of the NIH Clinical and Translational Science Awards. And we have this collaboration, partnership with Johns Hopkins University. And of course, here at UMB, we include several schools: dentistry, law, medicine, nursing, pharmacy, social work, and graduate school. For our predoctoral students, this program is 1 year. And the TL1 provides a stipend, tuition, and training-related expenses. And all these activities are in line with the NARSA grant application. So there is a link here that you can explore. Who are eligible? So to be a TL1 pre-scholar, predoctoral scholar, you need to be a US citizen or permanent resident, what we call green card, must have received a bachelor degree by the beginning of this appointment, current enrolled should have a different kind of, affiliation to one of our schools. School of Medicine, Dentistry, Nursing, Pharmacy, Social Work, Law, and or the graduate students program. So if funded, no other concurrent federal fundings are allowed. And when we talk about prior NIH grant, federal grants, we also have this rule that no more than 4 years of previous aggregate NAR support are allowed. So what do we ask to our TL1 scholars? So it is important to pursue a full-time training. In fact, people who are part of this program will spend 40 hours per week in science. It is also required to attend didactic training seminars, and we both, UMB and Johns Hopkins University, provide a series of seminars that tackle different aspects of clinical translation and research. Also, this is a partnership with the mentors. So it's very important that the primary and eventually secondary mentors are involved with us in advancing this clinical and translational research project. We require to complete a master's degree in different areas, usually is clinical research, and some people who have already a master, to avoid the redundancy, we select certificates. But mostly we encourage everyone to have the master in clinical research. The students that are part of the master have to have a minimum of GPA of 3 to be able to graduate. And finally, predoctoral trainees may be enrolled in year 2 or later of their original doctorate, conferring degree training, depending on the plan of study. So again, this is very important because it's important to have some of the requirements of the PhD programs already done to be able to devote time to translational research. So for predoctoral clinical research training awards applications, so those who want to apply and work with us, we require at UMB to have a cover letter, a curriculum, a personal statement that is 1-2 pages in a size of 12 fonts, And also we require to include a project title, a brief description of the project, and importantly, the short and long-term research goals, along with the research interest, and eventually if they have done some previous masters or certificates. We also require the transcripts for all higher level institutions, and the application is combined with the application to the graduate school to complete the master or certificate. So the day that you file your application to the TL1, you also will file your application to the graduate school in order to complete the master and certificate or certificate. So it is also important to send 2 letters of reference, and this letter will be sent directly from the people who write the letter to our email, that is the ICTR navigator at umaryland.edu. For our predoctoral scholars, we require 1 letter from the former professor or mentor. 1 letter also from current mentor that show willingness to work with us. What does this mean? I mean, from the current mentor or mentors, we require an NIH biosketch. We require proof of willingness to commit to their trainee in terms of time spent with them, and a sort of plan in mentoring together with us, our scholars. We also value and evaluate the mentor's prior experience. If they had prior students that had a comparable NIH grant, or how many predoctoral students as well as postdoctoral students were mentored in their lab. And the letter of support should include all this element along with their current funding, so that we can have a sort of appreciation of their commitment to our scholars, their prior experience in terms of training and mentoring scholars, and a lab that is well funded. This will help us to advance the scholars' research experience, ability, and potential to become an independent investigator, verbal and written communication, as well as other skills that are relevant for leadership. And finally, we require a letter from the academic dean confirming good academic standing, and where appropriate, stating approval for the step out here. What is the step out here? To be fully immersed in research, we require that not just in terms of hours, but commitment, didactical activity, attendance of our seminar. So to be able to full commit, we require this step out here to devote to translational science, as well as training that we provide. And that is the overview of the UMB requirement to apply for the TL1 predoctoral clinical research training award. What about the TL1 postdoctoral award? Well, there are substantial differences, but also similarities. The scope is very similar. The goal of this award is indeed to support the training of biomedical, behavioral, clinical researcher to individual postdoctoral research trainings. The TL1, again, is a component of the NIH Clinical and Translational Science Awards, the CTSA, and as I mentioned several times, this is a partnership with Johns Hopkins University. At UMB, we have a collaborative trans-schools collaboration where we invite candidates from dentistry, law, medicine, nursing, pharmacy, social work, as well as the graduate school. The duration is different. In this case, we have a 2 years program. So when we talk about the TL1 postdoctoral clinical research training awards, we cover for stipend, tuition, and training-related expenses. So training-related expenses range from expenses related, for example, to publication fees, to conduct some part of the research that has been proposed to the project, or other expenses that are justified and pre-approved by us. All in terms of expenses and financial requirements are in line with NIH and with the NARS. The eligibility is quite similar. Again, a TL1 postdoctoral trainee needed to be US citizen or permanent resident. They must have received a PhD, an MD, a DDS, or comparable doctoral degree by the beginning of this awards. If funded, no other federal funding is allowed. And in terms of doctoral degree that we accept, we have, as you can see, a long list from MD to DMD, DC, DO, and I will not read all, but you can see that this is not a program only for physicians. And this is a program for behavioral translational human research that range with different area of expertise. So different doctoral degree are allowed to apply for this award. In terms of other funding, no more than 1 year of previous aggregate nurse support is allowed. And this is slightly different than our predoctoral applications that we mentioned previously. Again, there are some requirements. So first, we require that our candidates who succeed will devote full time to science. And this means a minimum of 40 hours per week. Also, they are required to attend the didactic training seminars that we offer at UMB Johns Hopkins, and to work together with us and the primary mentor on the project that has been selected and awarded for this program. It is important to pursue training as a clinical or non-clinical postdoctoral fellow and complete a master degree, as we mentioned, in an area of clinical research. Those people who have already a master will be offered to complete a certificate, and this will be considered on a case by case. Those who will join our programs need to have a good academic standard with a minimum for semester GPA of 3. Clinical fellows also should have the ability to satisfy the requirement to continue to be with their respective clinical boards. So what about the requirement? So when you consider this kind of application, you will be preparing a cover letter mentioning, which program are you applying, which are your critical aspects of the application. You will include your curriculum vitae, but also a personal statement that in this case is a little longer because it's a 2-year program, and also we expect that the level of independence for postdoctoral trainees is different than predoctoral. So we will have from 1 to 3 pages of personal statement. Okay, the font is like before, but the elements that you will include in the personal statement are very critical. There will be a project title, a brief description of the project, short and long-term research goals, research interest, as well as the specific MD certificate or master program that the candidate intended to pursue and why this can be beneficial for the career. It is also important to emphasize that the nature and the value, the rigor of the projects is very much evaluated together with all these other elements. So it's important to focus on both the science and training elements that are part of the evaluation. We also require the transcripts from all higher level institutions. And again, those people who are interested in the TL1 postdoctoral clinical research training will submit at the same time a concurrent application to the graduate school to complete either the master or certificate. So the last application that we had was February 12, 2021. We expect to launch again fall 2021 the call for the future TL1 postdoctoral scholars. We talk about 2022. For those who are interested, it's important to have one letter from the former professor, as well as one letter from the current mentor. And the current mentor will also submit the NIH biosketch. I would like to emphasize that that is a partnership with mentors, so the mentor will state the commitment in terms of time devoted to the trainee, his or her mentor prior experience, current funds, and importantly, why his or her candidate is qualified for this kind of program. All the letters should comment on previous mentoring experience, the applicant research experience, the research abilities, and potential to become a researcher in terms of verbal, written communication, ability to run an experiment, be independent, and any other additional element from perseverance training that make the candidate competitive. Once again, I would like to emphasize that during the evaluation of all the application, we will consider both the strength of the mentor and the strength of the candidate. This is a partnership between mentors and scholars. Postdoctoral appointment must be contingent on the TL1 award. And we expect to have another call for 2021. So who are we? I mentioned that Dr. Khalil and myself are working with our scholars, and we start in 2019, and our pioneering TL1 scholars were Bern Monari, Sarah Robbins for the TL1 predoctoral scholars, and Dongwon Kim and Olivia Martin for the postdoctoral scholars. As you can imagine, our predoctoral scholars complete their time, and I also would like to focus here on the research interest. You can see that there is a variety of topics that follow under the umbrella of translational research. For example, if we take a look at what I put in these slides, the relationship between microbiota and infection and women's health, we have some other topics like women's health and the epidemiology of reproductive tract infection. Or, for example, for our postdoctoral scholars, there was an interest on rehab and neurological disorders with Dr. Kim, and Dr. Martin had a different interest on phenotyping risk factors related to different form of trauma and other elements related to biomarkers to try to understand how recovery can be influenced by biomarkers. In 2020, we select our new TL1 scholars. We were in the midst of the pandemic, so mostly we were able to conduct a sort of virtual remote training. And yet we met regularly as we used to meet before the pandemic era, but also, you know, we were facing together the new kind of approach to training. And I would say that so far so good. So in 2020, we select again our postdoctoral scholars that are Akasha Sash and Anna Pauling-Kuhn. Both of them are still during their training time. And if we focus on the research interest, you can see that we have here cardiac surgery, mechanical circulatory support, and also physical activity, obesity prevention, geographic health disparities, and EMA, ecological monitoring assessment. So different topics. You can see that we have a variety of different topics and projects. And then for our predoctoral scholars, Sydney Stern and Ana Moren Coutinho, they are about to finish and graduate with different topics. Again, we have rare disease for Sydney, and we have formulation strategies to improve oral delivery of poorly water-soluble drugs, so projects of pharmacology. And we can announce our new scholars. So this year we select again new people that are about to start July 1st. And you can see that we have Jonathan Baghdadi, Alice Kowalki, Joshua Leibovich for our postdoctoral scholars, and two predoctoral scholars, Dani Onasanya and Rachel O'Sullivan. So they also bring different topics that range from surgical procedure to disparities to pain. I want to mention the projects to give you a sense that there is a variety of applications, but the goal is always translational research and application to medicine. So far I show to you, our pool of candidates, but also the TL1 program has been successful in terms of different deliverable. That is not necessarily only number of publication, but also grant that they have submitted after finishing the program with us. Just for a general overview, our scholars finish their master in epidemiology or their certificates. Some of them apply for other federal grants like F31. The predoctoral trainees are telling us about their publication, and some of them receive at our annual CTSA conference the Blue Ribbon poster. And similarly for the postdoctoral trainee, I mentioned to you that we still have 2 that are about to finish, but we are witnessing, some progress in terms of future step publications, ability to learn more about critical rigor elements to conduct translational research, and more awards. So we have a regular meeting with Johns Hopkins University, our colleagues. This is one of the latest one that we have. We will have another one next week. And despite the pandemic, we continue all our meetings, actually realizing that sometimes this is also beneficial because require no commuting and the ability to run from one class to another, and seminars and many other activities. And with this, I would like to thank you for your attendance. Follow us on Twitter, but also our website has all the most recent news. So things that I told you about our current scholars are on our website and the page related to the ICTR, and in particular TL1 and our news. Thank you very much for your attention, and I will be available for questions through the chat. Thank you.
Dr. Colloca, it looks like we have one question that's been started. I don't know if you can see that in the chat.
Yes, and I can read. Hello, are international medical graduates with graduate degree eligible to apply for this award? The criteria of eligibility is related to being a citizen or a permanent resident having a green card. So we do not exclude people based on where they obtain their medical degree. So as long as they are US citizen or having a green card, yes, they can apply. So
any other questions from our attendees? If you would like to speak, let me know, and we can change the settings to allow you to talk.
Yes.
If that makes it easier.
Great, Ocean, you can apply. Thanks. Any other questions? Feel free to use the chat or come to the panelist.
Okay, if no one else has any questions, I just want to remind everyone that we do have a survey that we would like you to complete. That survey link is located in the chat, but also I can put in here a link to the ICTR website that actually goes to the last RFA funding opportunity that came out. And you can refer to that if you have questions about what the application looks like. We typically announce this in the fall, and applications are typically due in February. The start date of the program is typically July 1. Is that correct, Dr. Colloca?
Yes, correct.
And I see that Dr. Davis, who is the director of our ICTR, has turned on his camera. And would you like to make a comment, Dr. Davis?
Thank you, Wanda, and thank you, Luana. Wonderful presentation. And anyone interested, we would be delighted also to receive your application.
Yes.
And spread the voice. I mean, many people do not know yet that we have this at UMB. So
I'm also posting the ICTR Navigator email. So if anyone has any questions later, feel free to send us an email. We're happy to respond to any questions that you may have. Okay. If there's no other questions, we will post this. Just to circle back a moment, we did record this session, and we will be posting this on the website along with the slides. So you can access that as well. And it looks like we have another question.
is there a way that non-US residents get the opportunity to enroll? As long as they are permanent residents, that means a green card, yes, they can enroll. This is not our rule, it's an NIH regulation for this kind of program and grants. So green card, okay. But only resident will not qualify as per NIH requirements.
Okay, thank you everyone, and have a great rest of the week.
Thank you, Wanda. Thank you, everyone.